Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:06. Good Monday morning to you. It's O'Connor and Company, and I'm happy to be that sunny, cheery, upbeat, positive voice that you hear first thing in the morning. Coming up at 7:05. And I'm feeling it today. I am. I'm not just putting it on. I'm not just pretending to be excited about starting this Monday. I'm in it. Coming up at 7:05. I never pretend. All right, coming up at 7:05. Joe DeGenevo will be our guest. 7:35. Jonathan Schanzer, Foundation for Defense of Democracies, found out what did or didn't happen during those talks with Iran over the weekend. The media not covering that very much. I'm glad we are. 8:05. Link Lauren, we've liked Link for a couple of years now since he covered the presidential campaign. He's now starting a brand new podcast. He was also working with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign for a while there. Link Lauren. And then at 8:35, our friend Kurt Schlichter. He's got a brand new column out today about that commander that we talked about last week, the woman from Greenland, a colonel who's been relieved of duty for undermining the chain of command. As you can imagine, Colonel Schlichter has some thoughts, and he'll share them with us. The brand new column he's got today, titled "The Pentagon Must Go on the Offensive to Defeat Politicized Officers." So we're looking forward to that conversation. I'm looking forward to the next 4 hours conversation with my friend Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie. Did you have a good weekend? Everything good?
Good morning. It was
Settled
great
in,
weekend.
sorted things out.
Yeah,
you doing
it was
all
a
the
great
teenage boy stuff, baseball season, all that stuff going on in your life?
I will tell you, actually, weirdly, and this never happens, we actually had a break from kids' sports. And I did one of those things. It's going to sound so boring, like people are literally going to turn their radios off. But I cleaned a closet out.
Then by all means, dive right in.
They keep talking.
Why didn't I include that in the? So I've given the rundown. Here are all the guests that are coming up, and now something that will repel you. Go ahead, Julie.
Not repel. I don't mean to bore people. This is actually probably very relatable, especially to the women that are listening. I cleaned my closet. And I have a big walk-in closet, and honestly, It was bothering me. So it was one of those things because I'm a very tidy person, and it had gotten a little bit out of control. And I mean, huge leaf and lawn bags that are donated to Goodwill.
Yes.
So old shoes, old jewelry, tons of clothes. Anyway, I know I'm boring, but that was a massive accomplishment from this weekend. You get it?
It freaks me out how similar our lives are because that was a major portion of our Saturday was the exact same thing.
Oh, don't you feel like a new man?
Yes, I do. We're still in the midst of it a bit,
okay.
And I've made one run to Goodwill already. That was 2 weeks ago. I'm about to make the second run here, and for the first time, we're like rotating our winter clothes and summer clothes.
Nice.
Because we've just been keeping so I've got my winter clothes now sort of bundled up into some tubs, and I'm going to take those. We have a U-Haul storage place nearby that we use for the midshipmen and stuff, and we're going to use it now as well. So it's not boring at all. It's wonderful. And I did one of those things where I made a big show out of doing it for myself, just so Meredith might get the hint that it was time for her to do this. And she did. God bless that woman. She took the hint. So we've been doing a lot of the same thing. And then our friend Rob O'Donnell, who is a retired police officer from New York, he is in town. His daughter's about to graduate from the Naval Academy. This is his second child to graduate from the academy. And so we met him in downtown Annapolis for a couple of cocktails. And I can't tell you what happened the rest of the night. No, it's not like I would if I could, but I have no memory, actually.
I get it. That's nice.
I'm borderline blackout drunk there. I had such a good time because I've been saying that since the death of my father, which was a month ago now, I've been reticent to socialize. I've been reticent to go out. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be around people. And then for some bizarre reason, because we've had friends from out of town and for other reasons, Meredith and I found ourselves last week, over the course of 7 days, we went out 4 different times with people. And it was just one of those, force yourself to get out kind of things.
Good.
And I feel like I'm almost back to normal.
Good.
Almost. But I figured I should because this week you and I are doing an event down in Florida for Independent Women's Forum.
We're
going to be around a lot of people.
We are.
On Thursday and Friday, and then we have our free speech forum at the Birchmere coming up in
Sunday.
2 weeks.
Yes.
2 weeks yesterday, and that's going to be around a lot of people. And then the week after that, my daughter gets married, and I'm going to be around a lot of people for that. So I figured it's time to get out, so I'm like not freaking out when I'm around all of those people that I just laid
I get
out,
it.
so.
That's good. That's good. And how is Rob?
Rob's
O'Donnell.
great. Rob O'Donnell is great. He's got his radio show going on in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and he's talking about all things Pennsylvania politics and military and police. But, of course, this weekend we set aside our radio business talk because that gets boring, and we just talked about our kids, and that was kind of cool, too.
There is news out of Pennsylvania. My goodness, with the governors.
There is. The governor's mansion was the subject of a arson attack. Although it's funny, it's like the mansion was set. No, actually, the governor and his family were the target of this attack.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not. To call it a mansion, I think we use the term mansion to. It just looks like a really nice suburban home. It's not like there's Grecian.
It should be the governor's
columns
residence.
in front.
The governor's residence.
Governor's residence. It's lovely inside, though, and he definitely uses it to do formal functions.
Well,
but the
so much
family lives
anymore.
there. Josh Shapiro is a married man. He's got children, and so he and his family were the target of an attempted murder by use of arson. It was absolutely terrifying. Around 2 a.m, while the governor and his family were sleeping in the home, it was firebombed. And it's sadly, this is a political assassination attempt, and so, of course, naturally, politics is involved in the way this thing is covered and the way this thing is investigated, because politics is everything, of course. And bizarrely, as this story started to develop, people started assuming that this was some sort of Trump-supporting,
because we've been
MAGA Republican.
Because the right's really been setting things on fire over the last couple years. What?
Thank you.
Hey,
Exactly.
were you asleep during the BLM protests?
I saw this story and to be fair, I am a biased journalist. But I don't conceal my bias. Unlike Anderson Cooper and Jake Tapper, I let you know what my bias is.
Yeah,
I'm looking at this story and I'm thinking, okay,
instantly,
arson, firebomb, probably an incendiary device, maybe a Molotov cocktail.
My first thought was, did Josh Shapiro own a Tesla?
Yes, thank you.
Right.
I saw all these condemnations at Pete Buttigieg and Tim Walz, and this kind of violence has no place in American society or politics. And it's like, where have you guys been for the last month?
Yeah, you had a shoot.
As your minions have been doing exactly this to innocent people who drive Teslas.
Yeah, and this isn't new. Let's talk about the shootings at an Alexandria baseball field where the entire deep, dark blue city reacted with, well, they kind of deserved it, okay? This has been going on for a long time with the left. They are, and
we
the
have
Democrat
to understand
Party,
their rage.
Yeah, and now they're upset.
Listen, I condemn political violence of all stripes, and I saw this thing, and immediately, first of all, if it did turn out to be some right-wing MAGA wacko,
we would have condemned it.
Of course we would have. It didn't matter. But who has been most critical of Josh Shapiro over the last year? The pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist.
Yes.
It's like I watched the morning meeting streaming show that Mark Halperin, Sean Spicer, and Dan Turrentine do every morning. And they the Democrats, Mark Halperin, who I believe is a Democrat, and Dan Turrentine, they openly discuss prospects for presidential candidates in 2028. And they will openly say, well, Josh Shapiro would be a good candidate, except, he's Jewish.
I mean,
And I assure you, they're not citing that as a problem in the general election. It's a problem for a Jewish man to get the Democrat nomination right now.
That's right.
So hold your thought. We got a little bit more on this political assassination attempt, the bizarre political reaction to it, and how it was obvious, to me at least, that this was not what people assumed it was, which was a conservative Trump supporter. No, we have some information on the suspect, and he's quite the opposite, as you can well imagine. Which, by the way, means you probably won't hear much about it on the morning cable shows today.
WMAL, making sense of the news.
We do know that this attack was targeted. We don't know the person's specific motive yet. but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay. And it has to stop. We have to be better than this. And we have a responsibility to all be better. Second, if this individual was trying to deter me from doing my job as your governor, rest assured I will find a way to work even harder than I was just yesterday for the good people of Pennsylvania. Here's a third truth. If he was trying to terrorize our family, our friends, the Jewish community who joined us for a Passover Seder in that room last night, hear me on this. We celebrated our faith last night proudly, and in a few hours we will celebrate our second Seder of Passover again proudly. No one will deter me or my family or any Pennsylvanian from celebrating their faith openly and proudly.
Sorry about that, Governor. Governor Josh Shapiro speaking out passionately about this attack on his life, his family's life, and really an attack on the good people of Pennsylvania who voted him governor by going after the governor's official residence there while the governor was sleeping at 2 a.m. And yeah, it was over the Jewish holidays of Passover. Let's be clear here. And listen, I appreciate his passion. And when you're the target of this violence, you know, it is a bit of a wake-up call. But I would have loved to have heard this kind of passion about the attacks on Tesla dealerships, Tesla chargers, about individual American citizens who drive Teslas. That was all equivocated by people in Josh Shapiro's party.
How about
Brett Kavanaugh and the attack on just outside his home as well, that was egged on by Chuck Schumer. And again, I'm sorry that it's like, well, let's not politicize this. No. You know, I'm looking at the suspect. His name is Cody Balmer. He's dressed like every other Antifa thug that I've seen going after conservative Republicans. And this guy's problem with Josh Shapiro is that Josh Shapiro is not a radical AOC Bernie Sanders socialist Democrat.
Yeah, but also, can we just talk about Shapiro's sort of generalizations? Like, we need to be better. We deserve better. We collect, like, who's we? Let's, you know, I mean, why don't you actually talk about Antifa? Why don't you talk about the radicalization? And why don't you talk about how people, sort of the mainstream in your party normalizes this behavior, encourages this behavior.
Yeah. This kind of violence doesn't have any place in American politics. You're right. Do I have a blind spot here, Julie? What am I missing? Where is the violence that is coming from the right? All they will do is point to January 6th. That's all they've got.
That's all.
And by the way, that's one of the reasons why I was super pissed off about January 6th, because we have always had the high ground on this stuff. Right.
Exactly.
We have always had the high ground. And it doesn't escape my notice that the people who were at the tip of the spear on January 6th, who were breaking windows and pushing past the cops, they're all dressed like this guy, too. They all look like Antifa coming from the left.
Yeah, and look, you know, they literally attacked the White House during the Trump first administration. Antifa and a bunch of protesters attacked the White House to the point that they really had to take cover. The Trump family had to take cover in the White House. And that was silent. Everyone was silent on that. So again, you know, some people really, you know, that was a really aggressive attack on the White House, and nobody said anything. But you're right, January 6th. I mean, Larry, when you think about it, to our dying day, I will be on my deathbed, and they'll still be talking about January 6th. It's all they have. They cling
Meanwhile,
to it.
we have volumes of political violence.
Oh, yes.
From people who oppose Trump, oppose Republicans, oppose conservatives. Bernie Sanders has been calling the conservatives in this country oligarchs since the early 90s when he was in the House of Representatives. I've got a montage
video
of that was put together. It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's funny when you start calling people Hitler over and over again, people start to say, oh, you know what? I don't like Hitler. Let's kill them. Of course, this kind of politics doesn't belong in America. Let's stop pretending like it's equal on both sides. Our prayers are with the governor of Pennsylvania. He has to come to realize that the reason why he was targeted is because he's not radical enough. He's too moderate. He likes Republicans. He sounds too much like a Republican. That's why they targeted him. It's 5:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
5:37, O'Connor and Company. Thanks so much for letting us be a part of your Monday morning routine. Coming up later in the show at 7:05, Joe DeGenova will be our guest. At 7:35, Jonathan Chancer for the Foundation for Defense of Democracy to give you an update on those Iran talks this weekend. 8:05, our buddy political commentator Link Lauren, kind of a social media phenom who's about to start his own podcast under Megyn Kelly's banner. And then at 8:35, our pal columnist Kurt Schlichter on the state of our military. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
I know you had a very busy Saturday night as you were up at the I should say down in Miami at the UFC fight. I know you're a big
yes,
Ultimate Fighting
Oh, yeah.
fan.
Got all dressed up.
UFC 314, of course. My brother-in-law is obsessed with UFC. I try to watch with him. Meredith, by the way, also. She doesn't stop everything to watch UFC, but she does like this sort of, fight. Yeah, I don't. I like boxing, but I'm old school. Mark Levin is a huge fan of UFC. It's like to put two guys in a cage and just let them beat the hell out of each other. I don't.
Yeah, I don't. Is this mixed martial arts?
Yeah, it's MMA. Except that's the UFC is its own brand. But yes, it's technically you can use any kind of fighting style in there. It's wrestling.
Yeah, no, not my style.
Punching,
I'm more the Downton
kicking,
Abbey on a Saturday night, so
So far.
Me and Patrice.
I have to say, we would rather
Watching
take in a BBC.
Yes.
BBC over UFC any day of the week. I know that's weird. Yeah. I'm weird that way. I don't dislike it. I don't look down on people. Anyway, it's become a big deal, and of course, Joe Rogan Joe Rogan is the ringside commentator for UFC. He's been connected to this for a long time. Dan White, who is a huge supporter of Donald Trump. And it's sort of become a thing where once every couple of months, Trump will show up at this thing, and people from the Trump administration now, at the time of the campaign, would show up as well.
His walk-on is incredible. I mean,
it's a see and be seen kind of situation. Yeah. And so there's video of Trump arriving at this. And RFK Jr. was there, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, because nothing says Health and Human Services more than grown people beating the hell out of each other.
As long as those UFC fighters weren't eating seed oil, everything's fine.
If they took out some canola oil, RFK would get in that ring and start beating the hell out of them. We have standards in this country.
Actually, RFK probably could beat someone up. I mean, he's strong.
True.
But anyway, so he was there.
So he's there with his wife Cheryl Hines, who is a Hollywood actress and was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah. There have been rumors that there are problems in their marriage, which don't seem to be true. There have been rumors that Cheryl Hines, because she's a Hollywood actress, hates Donald Trump. That doesn't appear to be true. There have been plenty of moments where we've seen them getting along with each other. She's been at RFK's side for everything throughout this. So there's this scene where Trump comes in, sees Kennedy, goes and shakes his hand. Cheryl Hines reaches her hand out, and Trump walks past her. And this video went viral Sunday morning under the guise of Trump hates Cheryl Hines, Trump snubs Cheryl Hines, Trump. Yeah.
Can we just talk about how noisy and distracting it was? I mean, in that room, she just gently puts a hand out, and he's got people screaming at him. There's like a million people trying to get his attention. She just subtly puts her hand. I just want to say that it wasn't like she went in for an embrace. She just put her hand out, and he walked past her.
And so it goes viral. Everybody sees this, thinks that he snubbed Cheryl Hines. And it is weird. I mean, if you look at it, he kind of looks at Cheryl Hines and then just looks away. Here's what's interesting, though. If you and spoiler alert, it's a lie. You go back. There is a photograph just moments later where he deliberately went back to her and greeted her. So clearly he was like, "Oh, I didn't even notice you there. I'm sorry," and went and greeted her and shaked her hand. By the way, right there next to her is Kash Patel,
right,
the director of the FBI, and he didn't greet him either.
Right.
What is he? Is he snubbing Kash Patel now too?
Right. They'll look for anything. And again, later on, there was also film of Cheryl Hines. At one point, Trump turned to her and talked to her, and she got up and went over and sort of talked in his ear and then sat back down. I mean, obviously they're cordial. And let's just talk about Cheryl Hines. I'm no big fan of Hollywood actresses and the left-wing sort of Hollywood activist. Mm-hmm. She's endured a lot being RFK's wife and what they went through. She has been insulted. I mean, the women of The View took after her, right? Just one example. So, she's not this, this person who's publicly dismissive of Trump or insulting of Trump. In fact, she's been very supportive of her husband. She said nothing about Trump. She seems friendly when she's with Trump. She goes to all the events. So
leave her alone.
Leave her alone.
Leave her alone. Also, by the way, at the event, other members of the administration, Tulsi Gabbard was there, Director of National Intelligence, as well as Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is in his home state of Florida. Shaquille O'Neal, a famous basketball star, at one time played for the Miami Heat. He went over and greeted the president. And Elon Musk was there with Lil X.
With Lil X. And they're supposed to be in a big fight, right?
They're all on the outs. Yeah, no, it's all fake news. But I'm sure Joe and Miko will be talking about it. You're right. I've seen the video. He goes back and greets her. She goes back and talks to him. I've seen the video of her going back and sitting on his lap. And that might be AI, though. It might not be. The point is, don't believe everything that you see. It's 5:43.
More than just politics, because laughter is the best medicine. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Well, just when you thought you couldn't hate Taylor Lorenz or CNN enough, we have a special. It's hosted by Donnie O'Sullivan. It's all about the rise of extremism in America. I honestly, this is sort of a Rorschach test because people see this clip that was put out last night, and people are going nuts about Taylor Lorenz, this bizarro, freakazoid New York Times, ex-New York Times, ex-Washington Post columnist who was like, the joke has been that she's like in her 70s. She's in her mid-40s, but she talks like and pretends like she is a 17-year-old girl. She has made a name for herself by slipping into young minor teenage girls' TikTok direct messages or Instagram direct messages to try to get dirt on their parents. She's a very strange woman, this Taylor Lorenz. And lately, after she's been fired from the Washington Post, she has been championing the cause of one Luigi Mangione, the accused assassin of the insurance company CEO in New York, where he killed this guy. It's obvious that he's guilty. It's on video.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
But he's become this cause celeb. So some people look at this clip we're about to play for you, and they are freaked out by Taylor Lorenz being a nutbag. Frankly, I'm reserving my anger and outrage at the reporter, Donnie O'Sullivan, and at CNN for even doing this. But take a listen to what everybody's talking about, and then we'll discuss. Here's cut 2.
Hilarious to see these millionaire media pundits on TV clutching their pearls about someone standing a murderer when this is the United States of America, as if we don't lionize criminals, as if we don't have, we don't stand murderers of all sorts, and we give them Netflix shows. There's a huge disconnect between the narratives and angles that sort of mainstream media pushes and what the American public feels. And you see that in moments like this. And I can tell you, I saw the biggest audience growth that I've ever seen, because people were like, oh, some journalist is actually speaking to the anger that we feel.
The women who got her outside court in New York.
So you're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like here's this man who who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems like this morally good man, which is hard to find.
It's so funny. Murders, oh my God, like they're so fun. And by the way, he's so hot. What is wrong with her? She is nuttier than a squirrel turd. I'm telling you, that woman needs to be institutionalized. And you're right.
Yeah.
That guy, if you could see the video, the harring along with this woman who just said the craziest stuff it's an abomination. What is wrong with him?
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. It's everything about it is crazy town. And actually, there's a little bit more of this clip where the reporter really here. Whoop, I don't have it set up right. I'm so sorry. He goes on to make sort of a joke about online dating and how this is here.
Person that seems like this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Yeah, I just realized women will literally date an assassin before they swipe right on me. That's where we are. I'm sure you wouldn't like to be compared to a Trump supporter, but some of how people cannot understand why people have sympathies for Mangione strikes me as the same as a lot of media not understanding why people support Trump.
It strikes me as the same. He's a cold-blooded murderer. And Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
Oh, yeah.
It strikes me as the same. I am so tired of this smirking, smug Irish smartass lecturing me about so-called extremism in this country. Everything about this is distasteful and disgusting and tells you exactly what's wrong with our media. That she's a celebrated reporter on look, up until a minute and a half ago, she was a columnist at the Washington. No, not a columnist, a journalist at the Washington Post in good standing. The reason that she got fired, by the way, is that a private message that she sent to fellow journalists was making fun of President Joe Biden.
Oh, yes. And essentially then she denied it in this really sort of disrespectful way. I mean, ultimately, she embarrassed the editors at the Washington Post with all of this. I will tell you, Brian Thompson, that is the CEO, the healthcare CEO, who was shot in the back. Okay. Shot in the back.
On a street in New York.
I feel so bad for his family, his children, his wife, who are going to have to see this. And it's similar to the story, this sort of celebration of this guy. It reminds me a lot of the much more recent murder of that young high schooler stabbed in the heart by another student. And now there's a GoFundMe that has raised something like $200,000. I don't know what is going on in our culture that these murderers are being lionized.
Yeah, listen, if you want to do a expose on this strange phenomenon where young women fall in love with accused and convicted murderers, you go back to the Manson family, for God's sake.
Sure.
This is a cultural and psychological phenomenon. To relate this back to a growing, lionization of extremism and say, women love this murderer, just like people vote for Trump. That is the most despicable equivocation that CNN is guilty of. I've got more about this. And again, my ire is focused on Donnie O'Sullivan. There's nothing better than CNN presenting somebody with a foreign accent to lecture us about our politics. Because, everything's so calm in Ireland right now,
Yeah.
Donnie. Yeah, you might want to look at the homeland there. We'll discuss this further on this morning. Suffice to say, CNN sucks. It's 5:53.